In the late 1930s, Americans were learning about the increasing persecution of Jews under the Nazi regime. Philadelphia couple Gilbert and Eleanor Kraus wanted to do something, anything, to help. Then a friend approached them with a seemingly impossible idea. Would they dare go to Europe to try to rescue 50 Jewish children? Despite the danger and the slim chance of success, Gilbert and Eleanor knew they couldn't say no.
To think of being able to help even a handful of children was a beautiful thought. I got started quite early the next morning.
But first, they had to find friends who would guarantee financial support for the children. An affidavit was necessary, along with many other documents, in order for immigrants to legally enter the United States.
There were all sorts of papers required. The forms were long, full of questions. This all seemed like an awful lot of red tape, but it was necessary. No one who had offered to make out an affidavit had realized how personal and complete a financial statement I required. It took 6 weeks, but I had accumulated 54 affidavits, 4 extra just in case anything went wrong. It wasn't really easy, and it wasn't really pleasant, but it was accomplished.
In the spring of 1939, Eleanor and Gilbert left their 2 young children at home and traveled from the United States to Europe. Ahead of them lay the heartbreaking challenge of choosing children who could endure separation from their families and being fostered in America. Their first sight upon arriving in Nazi-controlled territory was a train platform filled with brown-shirted stormtroopers. That night at the hotel, Eleanor was awoken by loud noises from the street below.
I went to the open French door and stood looking out over the balcony. Thousands of soldiers marched by. Then there were the heavier sounds. Machines went by. Machines I had never seen before. Machines with mounted guns, heavy tanks, one after the other.
Some 10 days later, after many meetings and discussions, Gilbert and Eleanor went to the Jewish community building where a long line of children and families were waiting.
We passed them in the hall as we entered. There was no hysteria, no disorder, no noise. The children were washed and dressed in their best. Their behavior was perfect.
Each family entered the small office and shook hands with the couple. Gilbert told them their child had been chosen to go with him to America.
Each parent received this news with great delight.
The relieved parents willingly signed a document giving temporary custody of their child to Gilbert. They did so without knowing when or if they would ever see their child again. Against the backdrop of increasingly violent persecution of Jews, desperate parents made the agonizing decision to send their children away with strangers.
To take a child from its mother seemed to be the lowest thing a human being could do. Yet it was as if we had drawn up in a lifeboat in a most turbulent sea. Each parent seemed to say, "Here, yes, freely, gladly take my child to a safer shore." 50 times this question was asked. Will you leave your mama and papa and come to America with us? And each time I died a little more.
There were 50 children, 25 girls and 25 boys, between the ages of 5 and 14. One child who fell ill at the last minute had to be replaced on the list. He did not survive the Holocaust. Their journey at sea lasted for 11 days, until the children finally caught their first glimpse of New York Harbor. After several months at a camp in Pennsylvania, many children were reunited with family members who managed to obtain U.S. visas. A few would never see their loved ones again. But thanks to the extraordinary actions of Gilbert and Eleanor, 50 Jewish children made it out of Nazi Europe alive.